The voice of sharing, Durian ASEAN.
Hey, this is Arlene, and you're listening to Durian ASEAN, and together with me.
This is Gowri, and we're moving on to our ABC News for this morning, where we present fresh news from all over Southeast Asia for our listeners.
Yeah, and so, Gowri, how are you today?
I'm okay. I'm still recovering from the World Cup fever, but I'm really excited that Real Madrid has started training again.
Oh, that's
So I'm
awesome.
back to the league game spirit,
So,
which I'm happy about.
so your tears has dry since Spain has long
It
forgotten.
dried up a long time ago. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, I'm glad that Germany won because they're my second favorite team, and Mesut Ozil is there, Neuer is there, Lam is there. So yeah, I'm excited about that.
I'm excited about you being excited actually.
How are you actually?
Well, for me, my life has been okay for now, but yesterday actually was a holiday. Did you realize it, Gauri? Well, yesterday was actually a celebration of an
The Nuzul Al Quran,
yes,
right?
an Islamic holiday, and so we took a day off.
Yes, we did.
What did you do during that day off?
I was just staying at home, lazing around, catching up on some sleep because I only had 2 hours of sleep the night before for the World Cup.
Oh
So it was
yeah.
like a recovering day for me.
So you were hibernating in your room.
Kinda, yeah, yeah.
Well, I was hibernating in my room as well.
But of course, catching up with work, doing a little bit of reading.
That's true. I did a lot of reading actually yesterday. But talking about reading, I think today we need to read some news for our
Exactly, yeah.
our audience here. So what is the first news today?
I think we are talking about the southern Philippines again and the conflict that they have with Sabah. Of course, this seems to be a recurrence thing that's
Yeah,
been
that's true.
happening.
It's been quite frequently being reported in the news. Just today, it was reported in the Star that the Abu Sayyaf terrorist organization, its rising leader is suspected to be holding Marine policeman Zakia Aliyev in a mountainous jungle hideout in the island of Jolo in southern Philippines. So one of our policemen is being held captive in
Yes,
southern
and
Philippines.
before this, we also had a fisherman who was abducted. We also had a couple of tourists who were abducted, and I think this all goes back to the Abu Sayyaf terrorist organization
Mm.
that is currently accused of carrying out all these terrorist activities here.
It's interesting, despite the peace agreement that was being signed,
Hmm.
I think was last year, it's still an issue in southern Philippines of the kidnappings and the issue of people being somehow fear of the terrorist group Abu Sayyaf. And in fact, the Filipino intelligence sources identified that the sub commander as Al-Habsi Messiah, who is in his 30s, they said that he is loaded with cash and heavily armed.
And he's also a fast rising in the ranks of Abu Sayyaf leadership because he has made his millions of pesos in ransom money, which obviously came from all this kidnapping of civilians.
Yeah, that's true. I guess they have shifted their focus from just merely, like hardcore terrorism
I know, and they're
to
making a
totally
career out of it by
to
making
total
money.
adoption and
Hmm.
to get ransom money. I think it needs. I think maybe the organization has somehow evolved into an organization that
Hmm.
needs to somehow sustain itself, and the way to do it is to get ransom money out of people that they kidnap.
So the Malaysian police have also organized a shoot on sight order, I think a couple of days ago, for any suspected a person who could potentially be dangerous. But I think Najib, our prime minister, said that he needs a clear SOP for the shoot on sight to prevent any any unwanted incidents. But what do you think of coming up with a shoot on site? Would it be effective
Yeah,
considering?
exactly. I wanted to discuss with you on that.
Uh-huh.
I think in this current situation, is of course it's a very urgent situation in a way that you cannot trust anyone. Like
Mm-hmm.
these people can easily blend it into the majority community, but at the same time, the idea of shoot on site is very dangerous and very risky because in a way, what if you shoot the wrong guy? What if you shoot someone who is fine, who is working in a
Mm-hmm.
who has a family, working in a decent life and decent work and earning money for his family? What if you shoot him and the family doesn't have any support system
Mm-hmm.
anymore? Like
Yeah, I think you're right. It is a very risky move by the government, and I probably understand where they're coming from because they probably had enough of Abu Sayyaf and his men abducting people every now and then demanding for ransom, and that has also kind of made Sabah really unsafe and probably even not not have that much of a good reputation anymore internationally. But
mhm.
then it's probably a bit too extreme. But maybe if they do have a standard operating procedure and
But what is
they
the
have a
standard operating for the procedure for shoot on site? I mean, I always believe you are considered innocent until you're proven guilty.
mm-hmm,
So I don't think anyone, even a person who is affiliated with Abu Sayyaf, should
mm-hmm,
be shoot on site just because he's from that group. I think everyone should deserve a fair trial
mm-hmm.
regardless of whatever their background is. And I think it's very dangerous to adopt this shoot on site. And also it shows that the government intelligence unit is not that intelligent after all. It
Mm-hmm.
means that they are still struggling to identify who exactly is part of this Abu Sayyaf terrorist group.
But then again, we've lost a lot of innocent policemen as well, who were placed on the coast to guard the people, and number of them were shot, and they had to leave their family and even little kids behind. So this thing is really getting out of hand in a way, and probably they shouldn't shoot on sight. But I think that they definitely need something in between, something that is not too laid back and something that is not severe as well. Probably they can come up with something that is scary enough for the Abu Sayyaf and his people.
Yeah, and one thing we have to understand that, for example, this Gal al-Bashir that I described earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and you described earlier as well, he is synonym with the holding of hostage in Jolo because he was also responsible for several Filipino hostages, including trader Sugar Diane Bouvel, I cannot pronounce this, Buen Vialash,
Hey, I think.
Valahe. I think so.
Yeah, she was kidnapped from her shop in Mapun in
hmm
February, according to the Star, and she's only 33 years old.
Oh, wow.
And although the official word from both the Malaysian and Philippines government was that no ransom was paid for the release of Gao and Dayawan, the sources said that Al-Habsi received payment for board and lodging.
In fact, in the Mabu resort attack, the marine policeman Abu Rajah Jamuan was killed, and Zakia, his colleague, was abducted by 8 masked gunmen in military fatigues just before midnight on Saturday. So I think the issue of kidnapping among the Abu Sayyaf leaders are definitely rampant. But I'm also quite curious, like they they focus too much on um they focus too much on, I mean, the Abu Sayyaf,
Mm-hmm.
they focus too much on Sabah, and
That's right,
also
because it's probably the
I
closest to
mean,
them
I mean,
and the
they could
most.
have just focused on their own territory, which is southern Philippines.
Yeah,
Then
that's.
I would understand their main enemy is the Filipino
Mm-hmm.
government, but
Mm-hmm.
they're actually coming into our territory in Sabah and
Right.
kidnapping people, not just our people, but people from China, for example, or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
foreigners with money.
And yeah, lots of tourists as well who are
hmm
actually in Malaysia under the protection of our laws and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, talking about kidnapping, a bit far apart, we have to move to Penang, and it's actually a news that was so sensational that Chef Wan,
Mm-hmm.
our very prominent and famous chef in Malaysia,
Mm-hmm.
actually voiced out
Yeah,
about it.
so apparently the Penang government is proposing a ban on foreign workers preparing the food.
Yeah, and the only reason is because they want to. This he said that Penang should preserve the culture and the cuisine of
Mm-hmm.
the Penang food, and hence it should be prepared at by the Penangnite themselves. What do you think about it?
Well, I don't know if all Penangites can actually cook. So
Can
that's
you?
an
And
that's an
you coming from
uh
Penang, what do you think of the ban
um
by Lim Guan Eng himself?
actually I try to look at it from a different point of view because I do know that a lot of these foreign workers
Mhm.
who are working at these local stores are not actually getting paid properly, and they get very minimum wage and they're expected to work like more than 12, 13 hours. So if that was the reason for the ban, like I will totally understand. But if it's to preserve the taste of the food, I guess that sounds a bit ridiculous to me because I think when it comes to cooking, it's an individual thing, you know, whether
Yeah,
you like
that's
cooking or
true.
you don't like cooking. Some people just have that touch where you just whatever you cook, it just becomes so delicious. Whereas some people like me, you don't want me to go into the kitchen, although I'm a Penangite and I'm
Like,
supposed
what
to
if
be
I
good with
ask you to
food.
cook Penang laksa like right now? Like, can you even like come up with the ingredients as well? I mean, this is something that is really strange by the Penang government. I mean, they have done a lot of interesting positive move in terms of trying to develop Penang and making Penang in
Mm-hmm.
this very cultural city. But at the same time, I feel that this one particular move of
Uh-huh.
Lim Guan Eng is definitely gone wrong. A move gone wrong, I think.
That's right. I mean, so far, Lim Guan Eng, for a Penangite, I think that he's been making really significant improvements in the state, and he was someone that everyone looked up to. And this is the first time that he's probably brought some ridicule upon himself by. Well, I mean, I think some of the factors that he could possibly consider if he really wants to preserve the authenticity of the taste is probably check and see if the place is clean, check and see what are the ingredients and all. There are a lot of other ways to do it instead of just saying that, oh, these foreign workers should not cook this anymore in order to preserve the
Yeah.
taste. Because even if you look at the locals, like some Indians maybe can prepare very good Malay food. You know,
Mm.
it's an interracial, intercultural
And
thing.
I mean, you have to understand the history, our food culture. Our food are not entirely 100% uh, pure. You know, it
Mm-hmm.
has been, it's a fusion of
It's a
different things.
fusion.
I mean, you go to Mamak today,
Mm-hmm.
besides the typical roti canai, which actually the real name should be prata,
Uh-huh.
you can have a mix of different type of roti canai. Like you can have roti telur,
Right.
roti bomb,
And you have like
roti banje.
roti cheese and all
Yeah,
that, which
and
you will not find in India actually because
yeah,
it's been localized according to our
and what
taste.
about the nasi lemak itself? Even Chinese can cook nasi lemak now.
Mm-hmm.
Indian as well.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
is he gonna say that only Malays can make nasi lemak from now
and
on?
I can tell you this, nasi lemak from here
Mm-hmm.
compared to nasi lemak from, for example, Kedah is totally different. I
Right.
mean, my father came from Kedah, and
Mm-hmm.
whenever I go there, I look forward to the nasi lemak there because it tastes something similar to nasi kandar, but it's
Okay.
actually nasi lemak. So I mean, there's so many variety and authenticity in our food that I think if all these foreigner learn to cook it is actually a good thing. And in fact, I just want to highlight like what Lim said. Actually, he said that he suggested he concerned that the state reputation for good street food would be effective if it would be affected if it was prepared by Vietnamese, Nepalese, Bangladeshi, Thai, Indonesia, or Indian nationals. Because in fact he would revoke the hawker's
Mm.
license if they are, if they are seen to be employing foreigners to cook the famous Penang dishes.
Well, all I can say is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I think a lot of Penangites have gotten used to the fact that these foreign workers are the ones handling their food. I mean, it's been happening for such a long time that people don't even think about it anymore. You know, when you go
Mhm.
to a restaurant, you know that the person taking your order is definitely not a local. It's an Indonesian, it's a Vietnamese person, it's a Nepali person. people are used to that fact. I don't think that's something to even worry about anymore.
I totally agree with you. I mean, we have to highlight what Chef Wan said, and I totally
Mhm.
agree with
Mhm.
Chef Wan. He said that the strange rule will only serve to make Malaysia a laughing stock in the eyes of the world. He said that we should stop blaming immigrant workers. And stall owners should take the initiative to train their cooks to be better, and that's totally true to me. I think the owner should be the ones teaching them to
Mhm.
cook the right way, using the right ingredients, and also have that creating that authenticity within whatever their capabilities are.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's a training thing, it's a practice thing. If you keep doing it every day, you're eventually gonna get better at it.
Hmm.
And it doesn't depend on where you come from or what's your cultural background. You know, when it comes to cooking, you have the ingredients, you put them all together, and I know under the supervision, it's going to taste the same. It's
Yeah, I mean, he even said like this, is because you have to understand that Chef
mm,
Wan has been traveling all over the world, cooking so many dishes
mhm,
in so many countries. Like, what if Italy say only Italians can cook Italian food?
mhm,
Do you think Chef Wan would know the skill of
right.
cooking Italian food if he's not being given the opportunity to cook all these different
Mhm.
dishes?
Yeah, I think you're right. It's also something that they can bring back to their country and spread in their country
Hmm.
when they return.
Yeah, I mean, he said that the people could even become food ambassadors of the Malaysian cuisine, and we really need Malaysian cuisine to be on top of the world, just like Thai cuisine.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope that Lim Guan Eng thinks about it and probably reconsider his decision. Or, I mean, I would really hope that this ban is more of a welfare thing where he's trying to protect these people because, like I said, they're really not being paid well. But if it's just because of preserving the taste, it definitely doesn't make sense to
But
me.
I think your point about them being not
Mm-hmm.
paid well is a really interesting point. I mean, to be very frank, foreign workers in Malaysia are not being treated well,
Mm-hmm.
paid well, or even being given a decent amount of rights for them
Mm-hmm.
to live a decent life in Malaysia.
That's right. I mean, I do know of some people who are actually running stalls, and they usually prefer hiring a foreign worker because they don't have to pay as much and it saves the cost. And usually these people, how do I say it? They don't have a life. Like they don't
Mm.
have their family here. They don't really have friends. So at times they just don't care. They don't mind working the extra hours because
Mm.
they just want to rake in the cash and send it back to their family.
Yeah, there's something that I think a- any state government in Malaysia should keep that in mind. I mean, it's sometimes it's irony because when you are the opposition, it's easy for you to make judgment of the government in power. But once
Mm-hmm.
you are part of the government, sometimes you also make like really ridiculous statements and also rules, and it's really strange. But what makes me so amazed is
Mm.
the amount of negative comments I saw in the Star when the Star posted the news about Chef Wan.
Right.
Actually, negative comments against Chef Wan,
Uh-huh.
and a lot of them say, "Oh, what Penang government is doing is actually good." I
Oh.
don't like foreigners cooking my food. I want char kway teow or Penang laksa to be cooked by the real Penang people. But what do you think of that? Would you agree with that, being a Penang nut yourself?
I definitely do not agree. I mean, like I said earlier, cooking is a skill, and the skill depends on people. Everyone's got their own set of skills. Like just because you want your food to be handled by a local, what if they just don't want to cook anymore? You know, like I said, like for example, for me, I'm a Penangite, but I probably cannot cook proper delicious Indian food. But if someone else can do it from a different country, like hey, why not?
Yeah, and
In the end, you just want delicious food. So
if
what does it
he's
matter who
if he's so
prepares it?
good at what he's doing, he
Uh-huh.
might bring the skill back to his own country and
Mhm.
open a Malaysian store.
Yeah, and
And
that will only boost our reputation
mm,
and boost our tourism in a way. And as Penang already is a main, it's like a food hub in a way
I
for
know.
Southeast Asia.
And what's so racist about what Lim Guan Yin said, I think, is it's only applicable to hawker store, but not
Mm-hmm.
restaurants. which I thought is like, oh, just because restaurants sometimes they have like these expats, or
Right.
foreigners who cook Penang food, so it's okay. But when it comes to hawker store, employing these low wages workers, no, then it's not okay.
He'll
But
probably come up with one soon enough, I think.
I think it's very xenophobic,
Mhm.
towards those who are of
Yeah, I
a
guess
lower social class,
it is probably maybe he has a hidden agenda of trying to slowly cleanse Penang of all these foreign workers. Who knows?
Sounds like Hitler in the making. And we have a news about Hitler actually.
Oh yeah.
Well, actually not really a news, but I want to make a quick remark about what Bong Mokhtar said about the German team winning
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
the match at that time in the semis against Brazil, and then
Mhm.
he actually uh, quoted Hitler in his speech, which I thought is a no, seriously no for him to do
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, that was kind of irrelevant.
Irrelevant, and it got the diplomatic relationship between Malaysia and Germany a
Uh-huh.
bit strained. Although it's not strained, but at the same time that the German ambassador has to voice out and saying that, oh, it's not cool for you to say that,
Mhm.
we don't support Hitler even though he
Yeah, and
was
it's
part of our
also a
history.
very insensitive thing to say because I mean Hitler and football, it's totally not connected. Hitler
Totally.
was known for the genocide, for being xenophobic, for doing this ethnic cleansing thing and killing millions of people. And what does the Germany football team have to do with
I
that?
know, and they want to definitely dissociate themselves
Hmm.
from the word Hitler, and it got
Yeah.
so huge, the news, that it was reported in the Time
Uh-huh.
magazine.
Uh-huh.
That's how ridiculous our name, Malaysian name, has become, and it took Najib's pressure against Bong Mokhtar that he finally took down the his
Mhm.
tweet, and also apologized. But I thought it was very distasteful of him being a minister himself.
Well, I guess Najib himself said something distasteful if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, we can have a segment on that, I think. So from Malaysia, I think we should move on to another country, and this time in Philippines. So the recent typhoon, uh, which hit eastern Philippines, have 3 people missing and thousands flee as the typhoon hit eastern part of the Philippines.
Yeah, so it seems that tens of thousands of people in the Philippines were hunkered down in evacuation centers while 3 people were reported missing on Tuesday as the typhoon pounded its eastern coast amid warnings of giant storm surges and heavy floods.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they have been receiving warnings the same as Japan,
Mm.
as I read, but and it's finally hit, and it seems that it's very bad to have tens of thousands of people having to be
I
evacuated.
know, but talking about Philippines, right?
Mhm.
It's always a country that is prone to floods and typhoons.
Mhm.
So I think they are not surprised that it will hit their country, and they have to do what they have to do. But what I admire about the Japanese people is it's not just about giving warnings, but also
Mhm.
they have all these different mechanism to support mentally in terms of
Mhm.
not just towards the typhoon, in terms of preparing themselves towards bigger challenges like the tsunami. Can you
Mhm.
imagine, like during the recent tsunami a couple of years ago, they actually knew what they should do. They should go to to a higher ground.
Mhm.
The schools and all public places should be evacuated, and all that. And they even queue for humanitarian aid
Mhm.
after the tsunami hit them. So they are definitely well prepared. But when it comes to the Philippines, we have to understand that majority of the places are actually very rural areas.
Yeah, it is. And also, like you mentioned earlier, the Philippines actually have about 20 major storms a year that
Wow.
hits them. So I guess they are, in a way, used to it. But at the same time, they still, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they have probably an SOP of handling these disasters like Japan does, because Japan has a very clear procedure of what to do when a disaster strikes. You know, how to properly evacuate the people, where to place them, and what do they get in terms of all that.
Talking about SOP, right? They definitely need one. Maybe we can provide them like a framework or
Yeah,
form.
since we do SOPs all the time here anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. So yeah, I think it's definitely something that they're probably used to, but it's also still really bad, and people on the coastal areas are the ones who are being affected the most as the threat of the storm gets worse.
Yeah, that's true. So I guess people on the coastal areas are evacuating because of the threat of the storm. So I guess uh, they are definitely working on it, and as spoken by the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, Romina Marasinghan.
Hmm. And yeah, I hope they sort it out. And we're also kind of running out of time for further discussion, which is sad.
That's true. But we hope that you enjoy our discussion, and we will definitely provide more insight and information on Southeast Asian news and issues. So for you to keep up with us, you can go to our Twitter and Facebook. We would love to hear your comments, your likes, and your posting. If you have any opinions you want to share with us.
And also, all our shows go up in podcast on our YouTube channel, which is also Durian ASEAN. And we have 2 new videos every day, one video and one audio. So they can always subscribe to our channel on YouTube. And if you don't have your computer with you, you can listen to us on the TuneIn app on your smartphone.
Oh, that's very cool. You just download the TuneIn app and you just listen to us, just like that.
Yeah, it's very easy. So we'll be back in a bit for our Blast from the Grassroots session in about 10 minutes. So stay tuned to DurianASEAN.com.